brothers and sisters. To be honest, when we called for this presser, we thought the space we have here would be sufficient. Because we have done this kind of pressers before in terms of budget making process. But the numbers that you have come today have made us, or have necessitated us, to squeeze a little bit. And as I said in the opening up out there, in case there are people who are still outside, because I see many are still outside, who may want to have a better coverage than how we are in terms of squeezing, I have nothing else I'm doing today other than to be your client, and therefore anyone from any other media house who have not gotten space, I'll have time to repeat whatever it is that I will have said before, or I'm saying now. I also want to thank you because you have been also very pivotal through the process that we have had in the position I occupy. Do are cross-cutting. I called you here so that our expectation is somewhere in the middle. There is what I want to say, but I also know there is what you want to hear. And the nature of your work. If because you have come here in terms of coverage of budget making process, and I called you specifically. The agenda is that there have been changes within myself, that given the pivotal role the position held in the workings of our country, in the workings of our nation, in the workings of our various government agencies, development and every other thing, and because whatever we were doing, I was also updating you regularly, I thought it was important that I call you the way I have done, so that the things we've been reading and the things we have been seeing, I can clarify a few of them and also give my voice on it. And therefore, without wanting to be diplomatic, I also know that is what you came for, because you knew if it was about politics, I would have called you somewhere else. And therefore, I'll only talk about that matter. And I also know that there are expectations of people on what we should say, when and how. I get messages every day on what I should do and how I should do it. And it is not the appropriate time today for me to talk about those other things. And I am saying it in good faith, because that is what we had planned to do. And I have only clarified because in the time I've been a politician, I know there is what you say, but there is also work to be done in terms of coverage. There is also what you may want to report. And that is given, because that is the work of a media house. So I've clarified that so that I'll be open to a few questions afterwards. But I just highly request, I am here as a Kenyan. I speak when I want to speak. I know we have interacted in many forums. We know each other person's character in terms of where they need to invoke courage, where they need to invoke whatever they need to say. And I know for sure, I'm not shy to say anything that I feel I need to say. So whatever I may leave unsaid today is basically based on the fact that the reason I called you is the one I'll talk about. And as I start, I first of all want to be very grateful. Myself, personally, for the chance I have had to serve the Kenyan people in the position of the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the National Assembly. As you know and you have interacted, that has been my designation. And that is work we did with a lot of dedication. And I am grateful for that opportunity. I am also very grateful to have interacted with many people as I serve as the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Of course, was the vice chairperson, and all the other members, all the other 25 members incorporated. Made me understand many things that I scarcely understood before. It made me know the workings of government. I was able to first-hand experience the things I was learning, and therefore it was also a continuation of a learning experience, and especially in regards to many macroeconomic factors, how inflation is affected by interest rates, how interest rates affect private enterprise, and many other economic parameters that we hear, but they are also far-reaching in terms of how we live, and they are also far-reaching in terms of what our country becomes. And by the way, out of that experience, in the year 2023, I realized I also needed to upgrade a little bit, because I singularly found that our country, yes, have many challenges, but the overarching challenge that we face as a country are economic challenges in nature. The chance I was serving in as the chairman of Budget Committee, I decided to also go back to school. I actually started pursuing 2 master's degrees together. One in KU, Master of Economics in Public, and the other one in the University of Nairobi, that is Masters of Arts in Economics. To attend physically, and those who offer online also attending class online, and by the way, as a student, not as an MP. And I decided to do that because I also wanted to deepen my knowledge in the economic platform. And the more the reason, I made it my duty to listen in terms of attendance, and also to participate in any other participatory issues that I needed to do as a student. And gratefully, I am actually done with coursework. I am now doing the projects, both of them together. And by the grace of God, I may graduate this year. I am not talking about myself when I talk about going back to school. It is basically because the motivation of pursuing those 2 actually came out of quest to know better, so that the decision I continued to make are optimal, objective, and especially based on things that then would make our country move forward, especially given the pivotal position which I was serving in. And if you look at this table around here, these 2 shelves is actually classwork. All this you see around here, these are issues around classwork. And I was doing it again, and I'm repeating, because I thought and I still believe even now that it is important that even as we serve in our specific capacities, that we continue to also develop ourselves, to sharpen ourselves, so that we can be making more efficient decisions as leaders. So in a nutshell, I have been very, very, I should be very grateful, and I have been very honored by the Kenyan people to have served in that capacity, and especially when our country really needed us to do what we needed to do. Just as snapshot of, so that you understand where I'm coming from. This position is very involving, and I am sure many of you have covered us before. Sometimes sleeping in this office, leaving here very early in the morning. Not just myself, also the members of the members we were serving with. But it was also an experience also to learn and know Kenya. There are things we used to do called public participation, where we would choose. We started with 12, we ended up with 20 counties every year, where we would allocate some retro money, actually 100 million per county, and we would then go there to ask Kenyans what they would prefer that we prioritize. The last one, I was privileged to actually travel all the way to Madeira and interact with the people of Madeira, and I am glad that I have had many, many of such experiences to also relate Teachers Training College and a KMTC, which they told I had 100 million to give to those two, because when we go do those things, we specifically look at the impact of how those projects would work, and also by we are requesting us to do. Having said that, also for perspective's sake, how it is. At some point we got too busy, because you remember when you are here in the chairman of budget, you also have to go all out there and talk about the projects you are doing. I also got too busy, as you could remember. Anyone what I'm trying to say is that at some point I got too busy, and my brothers and sisters, I'm telling you these things not more as a politician but also as a human being. I got too busy at some point that for the last 2.5 years, I actually went to my rural place, our rural home. I went there for the first time in the last 2.5 years in September or October or November of last year, thereabout, in the last quarter of last year. There is the time last year I visited my sister who lives not very far from Nairobi. To actually also do such a that looks very small but is also humane to do. And I am grateful for that chance, because even in that intensity, good learning experience. I also want to take this opportunity to the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the leadership of that committee all the best. It requires you to work very hard, sometimes to the neglect of your constituents. Whatever he is doing, the success you'll get is a success for all Kenyans. And therefore, there are things we say because you are politicians, but as a human being, I wish him all the best. I am grateful for the chance I have had. Maybe to clarify a few things which you may have in your mind, to ask them. Maybe I'll wind up by saying that I'm also very grateful. Let me reserve that for you to ask. I will answer. Let me also take this chance to thank the people of Kiharu, because to become the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the prelude to that is for you to be an MP first. And I don't want to chest dump, but I'm just saying it in humility. Being a single poster. I'm not saying that as humility, that I'm very, very grateful to the people of Kiharu for that honor. And especially given that there are many landed people in our constituency, but they have given me that honor and privilege to serve. Criticize. We need also to be criticized. I want to thank them. And also for prayers. Many of you, I will surprise you, but I am one of those politicians, and maybe I'm preempting some of the questions. In a slightly different way than I am one person who knows for sure that who I am as Ndindi Nyoro, I only become because God gives me the power. And therefore, I don't find it within myself to chest dump, to accuse. I only hold the position I have. I try my best to do good out of it. And therefore, I have said that because there are people who we have never interacted, but they pray for us. Praying for us, sometimes we get wisdom that we would not have gotten before, relying on our own selves. And therefore, I am grateful to all Kenyans for the input, or whatever we have achieved it that concerted effort. Maybe all have been able to do, and it's just an experience of the things we used to do when I was serving in that capacity. You have to balance among many things, because what happens in resource allocation is that you only need to be optimal. Where can you put money that then will yield most of the outcome? And at some point in the chase for resources and allocations, there was the issue of the JSS teachers, whom you know very well. By then they were called moguls. And I was feeling very compelled then as the chairman of budget that whatever else we are doing, and that was around last time when about resources was very pronounced out of the issues that happened in July. Among the few that I'm very, very proud of is the confirmation of the JSS teachers to permanent and pensionable terms. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, and especially given that I took it as my burden to make sure that that was done. But I'm not claiming to have done it by myself. It is teamwork among the committee members, teamwork among the other consultations that you need to do as the chairman of budget, which I am very truly grateful for. I want to stop there and pick some questions. I only request, I am a Kenyan, as I said when I was starting. I know, because I don't want to pretend that you as a journalist, there is what you dream. But I also feel it is important that the things you have said are equally important for the country, and especially the transition. Given the position I held, I used to invite you, you used to cover. I felt it is beholden upon me to also call you when it is time to pack. So if you might, or if I can indulge you, because I'm still here and you are still here, anything else, there is so much time to talk about it. So thank you very much. I open the floor.
That spirit, last week, from Nation. Last week
you are?
Ruby from Nation.
Okay.
Last week we saw from Parliament they were saying that you used to be a position as chair to disproportionately allocate much resources to your constituents of Kiharu. What could be your response regarding those accusations by fellow MPs in the Parliament?
Okay. Maybe we can take another one, then I answer, then we take others.
My name is Omolo from West TV. Mine was, but now that my colleague has asked, maybe from as a politician, why do you think you are replaced from that position?
Okay. Yes, my brother.
Yes, Moses on here.
You are?
Moses.
Moses from Star. Oh, Moses. Yes, I know you.
You know the country is expectant. When I say that, I know what I mean.
Yes.
Kindly just give us a hint on this expectation.
Okay. We can take one lady. I'll come to you, then we answer. I'm here. Yes.
Naitwa Millicent kutoka KBC. Umezungumzia mafanikio ambayo umefanya kama mwenyekiti, labda ni yapi ambayo unaweza kusema kama kutekeleza kikamilifu, na pia kuna hili swala la public participation bado ni donda sugu kabisa, halijaweza kushughulikiwa kikamilifu. Labda hata wakati unapoondoka ni kitu ambacho unaweza kusema.
Let me answer this so that I don't forget, and then we can answer the others. Dubi from Nation, you've asked about the in Parliament last week. I would just implore upon everyone, because I'm not the many times it's not good to talk about yourself, because you are likely to be subjective. To be objective, the day you dance to the tune. And I also want to say that anger and hate is too heavy a burden for any leader to carry. Those kind of other negative emotions to the advantage of the distractors. So it is important then, in politics you draw your line, you know this is the kind of politics I want to play, draw that line, whatever it is, follow through. Secondly, in terms of Wamalwa West TV, on why you've asked me a very difficult question on why I was replaced. I also don't know, and I am saying it in good faith. I didn't come here to accuse anyone today, or I only came to set the record straight. No one in the leadership of our coalition, from whichever position, has ever called me in regards to the position, in regards to what I need to do better, in regards to what I need to change, in regards to things that needed to be done in a different manner, it's very good for me to put it into record, because as I said, I was holding this position knowing that I was serving Kenyans, so I am also answerable. And in sincerity say, there is no one who has ever called me, decision makers of our coalition, to say anything around this. I read in newspapers about myself the same way you do. And in terms of this position, that's what I mean. And that's the truth. Moses is the political journalist. I know him. So he's asking me that I need to say something. Saying it respectively. I only think that even this is also very important. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, and Moses is still around. I know your job is not threatened in any way, so we are still in Star. So I'll be glad to also talk about that at the fullness of time. The other thing in progress for us as a country, and referencing to the that's very important things like staff. We had allocated
what you achieved. What did you not achieve that you wanted to achieve?
Let me answer those two, because I want to be precise. Leto, I don't know where you got that math from, and I don't know whether you're asking about Kiharu, because we do that in our day schools. We offer that in our day schools once a month. Is it a Kiharu question or a national question? Since I am not here now, let me not hypothesize on what I would do if I was one now. But mulisikia hiyo swali ya Ruto? Ruto, you want to box me in a corner? I'll answer you that in camera. Because I also don't want to deflect from this. It's a good question, but I also don't want to wander so far. I'll give you that answer later, and I'll also give you a calculator so that you do the right calculations. Daniel from Daily Trades, any regrets? What you could have done better? As I said when I was answering Millicent, budget making as it is in management of leadership is always work in progress. There is no perfection to it. That's why even the most developed countries keep on having new leaders. Otherwise, they could have finished the work and say, sasa tumemaliza. It's always work in progress to reach where we are headed. Myself is that I am the sum total of all my experiences, bad and good. And if I want to remove any bad experience from my CV, that is as a human being, then I am deserting to be who I am. Therefore, very rarely will I have regrets. What I'll have are lessons to do things better. Not about only doing, to treat people better. And if at some point you feel that you've been wronged, I always believe it's an opportunity for you to know how to treat people better when you are at a vantage point. And therefore, no much regret. Yes, sir, my brother.
My name is Mike from Ndindi Now, kwa vile kuna masuala kadhaa umeguzia pale kuhusiana na uhusiano wako na wakazi wako wa Kiharu. Ulichaguliwa moja kwa moja kwa sababu haukuwa na vibango vile kutoka Kiharu. Vile vile ukasema kwamba hakuna yeyote aliyekupigia simu kuhusiana na labda uhusiano wako na Rais William Ruto umekuwa vipi hivi karibuni, na labda kabla ya kubanduliwa afisini kwa aliyekuwa naibu rais, uhusiano wako na Rais William Ruto ni upi hadi kufikia sasa? Je, amesema na wewe muda wote ule? Umesema na aliyekuwa naibu rais wote kule? Uhusiano wako vile vile na aliyekuwa naibu rais ni upi hadi kufikia sasa?
Mheshimiwa, swali langu ni Ronny kutoka idara ya Moreni.
Your name is?
Ronny.
Okay.
Swali langu kwako ni kuhusiana na utendakazi na uchapaji kazi wako katika eneo bunge la Kiharu. Binafsi tulitembea huko na tukafanya taarifa kuhusiana na kuimarisha elimu, ndio maana tulipatia makala ya elimu bora na si bora elimu. Hivi sasa umengatuliwa na kuondolewa katika wadhifa ambao umekuwa unashikilia, na hizi tetesi ambazo zimekuwa zikisemekana na viongozi kwamba mgao wako ulielekezwa katika eneo bunge lako, kwa sasa hivi umeondolewa. Je, ujenzi wa shule utaendelea, madarasa yataendelea, kabla zitaendelea na wanafunzi wataendelea kula, au sasa bajeti vile vile itakuwa imefika?
Okay. Kidogo tu, the reason you see me I'm studying chache so that I don't also get lost. Let me answer the two very specifically. Mike, you asked about the relationship with our leaders. The position I held is a consultative position in terms of before a decision is made, there has to be a lot of consultations. But as I said before, because I also don't want to discuss personalities today, the position or the answer I gave before, I think it answers many things. That I have not had any conversation directly or on phone with any leader of our coalition in regards to the position I used to hold. And I think if you look at it, it answers many things also, which I also don't want to go into. In terms of the relationship with other leaders, I respect everyone. I mean, I'm one of those people who believe there's no person who becomes a leader by just being fetched from wherever. There is always a process they go through. Because I am one, I know. And therefore, in terms of you've asked the relationship between the president and the former deputy president, the position I hold is that I respect every leader. And I could have things I need to talk about. I could have reservations on decisions made. But I don't think it has been within my role to talk about those things, especially in public. The other thing in that question is that maybe for clarity's sake, the last discussion I had with the president of the country, the last political discussion, either a chat or a discussion as it were, was before October of last year. And I would not want, and you permit me to do that, not to discuss any further about any leader, because as you're all aware, I stopped serving in my position. It's barely a week. I also need to to understand many things before I talk, because I believe as a leader, I mean, I lead people. There are people who look up to us as leaders, and therefore even when you see that I am not answering some questions, it's not because I can't answer them. I believe you have covered me previously, and you know for sure that respectively in this world I only fear God. So whatever I need to say, I have no reservation of saying. But also we are given wisdom to say when to say, how to say it. And I believe we are here in Kenya, we'll keep interacting. If there is more to be said, if there is more to be clarified, we are allowed. Ronnie, he has been to Kiharu, by the way, to cover achana nayo taoja hii ni maji ya dimu kidogo ndio mkiuliza swali kwa ikuwe sawa. Ronnie, you've been to Kiharu and I am grateful, and by the way I want to request anyone who would want to come to Kiharu to look at what you've been doing. We are more than glad to host you. We don't do these things especially of hosting people because we want to blow our own trumpet. We do these things because I am convinced that if leaders started competing on the basis of what they are doing, the country would become better wholesomely. If our competition as leaders is deliverables, and we compete about who is doing what in terms of tangibles and development, is a very good discussion that you would have as MPs, for example. That is the reason why we would be glad even to host. We have hosted, I think, 4 delegations of my colleagues. Marking. We call them peer-to-peer learning because they also deal. And in around me wearing some goldish shirt, I'm sure you have seen it. That was on 4th of January last year. It is not a recent video. And we have been doing those things primarily because I think at some point I was not doing the right thing, and at some point I learned. And therefore I feel that if I share my experiences with anyone, and I also learn from them, the management of public resources becomes better. If Kiharu improves, any other Mvita improves, if Embakasi East improves, if any other constituency improves, then Kenya holistically becomes a better place. And I want to underline, the leaders who come to Kiharu, they don't come to learn because I am all-knowing and I know everything. I also learn from them. And that is why I also go to their constituencies to learn what they do. And I also know majority are trying their best. Specifically to answer you now, is that the projects you saw in Kiharu, majority of it that we have done in our learning institutions, I actually did in my first term. In my first term, I was a member of a committee called Regional Integration. I think I have answered you. So I'll still call you next year. I hope we'll still be doing better, hopefully. Yes.
Majibu Kisao from K24. Kuna swali mwenzangu alikuwa ameuliza kwa kifupi tu kuhusiana na wale wabunge ambao walikuwa wanakejeli kwa labda kujilipizia pesa kuwatumikia wakazi wa Kiharu. Labda utawaambia nini? Tena niuliza niliouliza, alafu waibie siri kwa sababu si mara moja si mara mbili umeteuliwa kama mbunge bora.
Okay. Yes, my brother.
Mheshimiwa, I know you are doing campaign during 2022 and you have given Kenyan a lot of promise. For the now,
your name again?
Aden Ibrahim from KBC. For now, for the 2.5 years now you are there. Where do you rate in terms of development across the country? Because you are sharing that that committee in that terms of development, and you know the promise that you have given Kenya. Where do you rate this administration in the last 2.5 years? Have they achieved their goal? Have they achieved their promise in the last 2 years?
Okay.
Where do you rate?
Okay. Let me answer those two. I'll now try to be brief. One, my brother, your name? Majibu. Maswali yani anauliza swali. Majibu, my brother from K24.
Yes.
You've asked about Keharo. I am always available to share our experiences in Keharo. More than available. I mean, I have had sessions with my colleagues and I have explained to them basically what we do is optimization, labor-based implementation of projects. It saves us the profit that would have been made by the contractor. It also saves us a lot of cost. It guarantees quality also. And because it's something that needs a lot of time to explain, I am sure I'll give you some time. And yes, ameuliza pia wale wabunge walisema mambo bugeni last week, nitasema nini? Nitasema, uniruhusu niseme kwa kimombo. As I said before, politics is up and downs. And politics is mutually exclusive. Because the things we chase for are the same. So sometimes, for a position to be created, one person has to forgo the years. And therefore it's always a chase. So, you also have to define yourself as a leader, the things you want to engage in. And respectively, as I say so, if I ask you as my brothers and sisters who are here, I ask you what Kibaki told anyone in the year 2008 when he was president, you would hardly remember. You'd have to go to your files to check what Kibaki said. But if you travel through or on Thika Road Superhighway, you don't need to remember anything Kibaki said. You see it with your own eyes. So me, I believe that, yes, we have to talk as leaders because you have to explain where you are going, where you've come from. I mean, you cannot lock yourself in a room. You have to talk. But in many instances, I find that what is far-reaching and what is permanent and what is objective is more what you do than what you say. And therefore, in terms of what was said and whoever said it last week in Parliament, I would not be provoked to answer evil with evil, neither will I be provoked to answer an insult with insult. Time answers many things. Time answers so many things. I mean, if I allege, for example, if I come here and allege Kajim here is actually not from Kenya, and I say, no, I have evidence, he's actually not from Kenya. Only time. He may not need to say much. The truth and the facts have a way of outliving words. And I hold no grudge against anyone. It is too burdensome to carry any hatred. It is too heavy to carry any ill will against anyone. I mean, you can only do that to the advantage of the people who calculate to make you wander from your path. Oh, sorry, Aden, and I think I'm taking too long to answer questions. Aden, allow me today, you've asked me to rate the government. You know, I've been chairman of budget. Definitely, I am likely to be subjective. In terms of rating of government, allow me not to answer that now because I just left this position barely a week from today. I am likely to be subjective, but I think as leaders from wherever we are, from MCA level to what I hold to every other level, there is always work to be done. And from my corner, hopefully I'll do my best to chip into that development so that entirely the country becomes better. But I also know Aden that, you know, like all of you, I am a Kenyan, I live here, so I see what there is. So, so Kenyans are better judges than ourselves as leaders. Yes.
The last one is, what's your take on the solution?
Your name is?
My name is Jeff from Live Nation 254.
Jeff?
Jeff Zilla, Live Nation 254.
Okay.
What's your take on the agreement between the opposition, Raila Odinga, and the president? Will this agreement solve the issue of Gen Zs? Because the other time Gen Zs went to the streets and they wanted some support from the government. Will this help? Will this agreement help the Gen Zs?
Jeff, I think, but respectively though, usinibebe vibaya, those are the areas that I don't want to go today, because I don't want to distort the message for today. And since I'm around, Jeff, I'll give you audience. You know now I'm not as busy as I used to do, or to be.
Maybe the last one on budget.
Yes.
Given the role you played in the last election.
Your name?
I am from Togo.
Okay.
Given the role you played in the last election, resulted in you being given that position. Now that you have been removed without even being informed by the leadership of Kenya, do you feel betrayed by the leadership?
Thank you very much, Aemba. Yours is hapo katikati because it's both political but budget based. So that one I have to say something about. Kaemba, I am a human being. We are also people. And it is
we've seen leaders when after the impeachment they consult, right, to consult after he failed in the AUC. Are we also going to see Ndindi Nyoro consulting?
Stephen Leto, I have know that when you are in the dance floor, politically speaking, you can't know even when it is raining outside, when the wind is blowing. You can't know when there is a storm. When you are in the dance floor, there is loud music and you are busy. This is an experience I've shared actually, Reto, with some of my colleagues. That sometimes as a leader, it is also important that you depart the dance floor temporarily, you go to the balcony, and also learning may not mean you are consulting to outdo anyone. Actually mean the dancing styles changed, but you are still fixed on the past ones. Not come by political conversations. It may come with just social interaction, as in tandem with the